The scene of many a championship finale, but this year, this night, this is round 16 of the Formula 1 World Championship here on Race Department PlayStation 4. Jamie Lee Mayers alongside Mikey Woolford, standing in as usual. And we have a very, very, very wet Japanese Grand Prix qualifying session. Apparently the weather's going to be dry for the race, so it's going to be very interesting to see how our grid stacks up, especially in terms of whether or not people have gone for a race setup which is going to be dry, or a qualifying setup which is going to be wet.
Certainly, this is a very interesting dynamic for today's race. Mainly because this, historically as a track, is very hard to overtake on. There's really only two overtaking places that you can know are going to be overtaking places, and that's down to turn 1 with the DRS, and through 130R into the final chicane. So what the drivers here will have to worry about is, do they use a higher aero in qualifying, which could probably give them track position, but makes them a little bit sort of under pressure in the race, or do you go with a lower aero setting, sacrifice a little bit of that qualifying pace, but then be a little bit more on the aggressive nature in the race itself? And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a very surprising name up inside the top 4, maybe top 3 today, who's gone one way or the other with one of the setups. And this is certainly, with a grid of 19 cars, going to be a very interesting race.
Yes, that it is. Just a quick note for everybody, our current championship leader, Sean number 1, is not on the grid this week. He's currently sunning himself in wherever it is he is sunning himself. So I do hope you're enjoying. He is actually watching.
Yeah, enjoying a well-deserved break, to be honest. He's obviously got a commanding championship lead and can afford to do an Alonso and miss a Grand Prix. And not many people would want to do that. But obviously at this stage of the season, other things become more important. And when he sees the weather in Japan, he'll be thinking his decision to go and sit in a nice sunny foreign country is probably a good one.
Yeah, this does of course mean that his championship rival and last year's champion Mitchell, who is here this week, is probably going to get 25 points. Claw 25 points back on him. However, this is a wet qualifying session, so anything can happen. And Sean has just corrected
yellow
me.
Flag in sector 1, and that's, I think, is going to be one of the Red Bulls. I think Mitchell is right behind Alex. I wouldn't be surprised looking at the gap between the two if the yellow flag in sector 1 was Alex himself, because you wouldn't usually want to run so close to the car in front, especially on your first laps in qualifying.
Indeed, we've got
another
yellow flag.
Very sideways. Yeah, brief one in sector 1 again. Obviously, people having problems. Probably down at Degner 1. No, that is JC, and that's in what looks like the S's. So that's a very strange place to spin. It looked like at a turn 2.
Yeah, it's probably quite easy to do. Get your wheels on that exit curb, and round you will go. Just following.
If he gets out of the way, and he does get well out of the way of the Sapper just before the darkness. That's good. It's quite hard to get out of the way on this track because it is so tight.
Yep, just following Drew around, and he crosses the line on a 45.7. A lot of understeer in the chicane, so he's going to want to improve on that.
Guy is currently fastest by about 4/10 of a second ahead of Mitchell, but obviously I think Mitchell was probably held up by Alex, who was in the late 44s. So maybe a surprise pole sitter today. Guy, someone who, in my opinion, is faster than his performances show. He's got the ability. He's very young. He can go a long way, but he just needs to use those races to show what he can actually do. And maybe today is the day.
I agree. As we ride aboard with Luke through the 130R, very tricky corner in the wet. And you've got yellows in sector 2, probably cars just recovering to the pits.
Yeah, there's a Sauber by the look of it. Sauber by the look of it, the hairpin going very slowly. Now, whether it was getting out of the way of someone.
Yeah, Luke only goes up to P11. I'm going to follow... there's Martin pulling off the road down at Degner.
Andrea's done a very good job in P4.
Very good.
Very
I didn't
good
even
lap.
notice that.
Ahead of Troy, ahead of Alex, ahead of Paul, ahead of Drew, ahead of Mazias, who should, and look at that.
Unfortunately,
Nexus
Martin's having a bit of a mare and has broken his front wing. Hasnain crosses the line and goes fastest. Just about caught that.
Looks like the track's getting itself into position then, and that won't be good news for Guy, who's currently in the pits. So, looking at some drivers, they fueled themselves for 2 hot laps, and some only went out for 1. Obviously, lighter car should, in theory, be faster, but giving yourself 2 fast laps gives yourself 2 opportunities to go fastest, and that's exactly what Hasnain's done.
Yeah, I mean, we saw in real life qualifying for Hungary that it's a good idea. Was it Hungary? With the wet qualifying session, or was it Germany? I can't remember. But,
it was Hungary, where it got wetter towards the end.
Ah, yes, it was. Yeah, you do see it quite a lot where the cars will be fueled up. Usually for the duration of a qualifying session, depending on how the weather pans out towards the...
very interesting here. Guy is about to go out on the Inters in the pits. I was about to say, the track itself doesn't look horribly wet. There's not much standing water, but everyone's out on wet tyres. And I've just seen that Guy in the pit lane has whacked on a set of the Inters. And I did say at the start that we could find someone surprising us. Maybe Guy is going to do that on the intermediate tyres.
Well, thank you for bringing that to my attention, because I've only just noticed that I didn't have the tyre strategies up on the screen, so I've just done that now. Alex also joins him on the Inters.
Watching the stream and has listened to us. Obviously the track, looking at the times dropping, an indicator of an improving track condition is that the times will get faster and faster. So maybe they've sort of just hit the crossover and thinking it's worthwhile going on a set of Inters. It's more of a risky strategy, but when you've got a lap on the board already, it's worthwhile, especially if you're used to sort of dangling down near the bottom half of the top 10 and maybe even outside of the 10.
Yeah, Gatis up to 3rd place. Didn't notice that until just now. Is he going to come into the pits, or is he going to carry on? He's going to carry on. Bit of a slow lap this one. Got Ben out on track as well. He's up on his fastest sector by half a second. So that this could possibly put him right at the front. If he doesn't mess up the chicane, which he has done, unfortunately. I didn't see his first run, yeah, he's aborted. Unfortunate for him. Guy looks like he's got a lot of understeer in that car on those Inters, so he might not have made the master stroke that we thought he had.
Might be too early.
Then again, we still have 2 minutes left.
Put the Inters on. Alex put the Inters on, but hasn't left the pit, so he's obviously just watching the telemetry and is trying to gauge an understanding of maybe even looking at the spectate mode in the pits to see what Guy's car looks like, and it'll be interesting to see if that little marker changes back to the wets. He's got to do it pretty quickly though.
No, he's out.
He's now showing us out on an outlap, because obviously with the wet conditions the outlaps take a little bit longer. And I don't think Dan, who's also got the Inters on in P8, is going to make it out in time.
I don't think so either. They are the only 3 men chancing it, or should I say 2 men, because as you said,
Mitchell's
Dan's
also
not
gone
out.
Mitchell's out on an outlap, that's fine. I think Andrew's just come out of the pits as well, and I can't see them making it unless this track dramatically improves and they're able to run in the 30s.
Gatis is up on his lap time. Can he get the chicane right? Looks like he can. Power sliding out the final corner. Is he going to improve? No, he doesn't. He just misses out by 0.08 of a second.
Oh! Andrea into the gravel in the S section. Got a lot of oversteer turning into the right-hander and tried to catch it, and the classic overcorrection shot him into the gravel. No wall hit, but obviously that's his session done. Still, it'd be pretty impressive P8 if it stays as it is. It's a very good effort from him.
Yeah, just watching Guy into Spoon. The front end's hooking up a little bit nicer now. So, does look like Inter's maybe the way.
Yeah, it might come to him towards the end of the lap.
Not sure.
You
Has
see the second
fastest currently. I'm not sure which Force India that is behind Guy actually. And unfortunately I didn't get a delta time on Guy's middle sector. So I'm not sure whether or not that was an improvement.
So hasn't cut.
He's got enough time to do another lap. Yeah, that was an invalidation.
But it's significantly slower, because it's 2.1 seconds slower on my screen. But has the track improved in a lap?
He comes down across the line to start a lap. Alex currently on a lap.
Right now that the wet tyres are the tyres to be on. And Troy goes fast is just... What a session this is for Force India a week after they've gone into administration. P1 and P2.
Very nice job by them. Alex, cars looks a bit slidey compared to the other guys on the wets.
Martin's about to complete his lap, but I think he's going to go comfortably last. But it's still Tom Wood. In fact, no, he will probably be ahead of Charlie and Jerry. In fact, and he goes ahead of JC as well. So actually not a bad final sector. And that's, I believe... I know JC's on what actually looks like a very good lap.
I think Hasnain is still able to complete his lap. He's still on one, Mitchell's on one. Guy is on one.
JC! Oh, huge hit! If you can remember 2009 or 2010, that I think it was Al Jaswari into the wall.
Oh, there you go, Mitchell fastest.
Statement, comfortably fastest.
Oh, Guy, sorry, not Guy. Alex got it all wrong coming out of the chicane. Only goes P9. Kind of went on the grass on the exit.
And Guy's aborted his lap, so obviously the Inter's not working out well.
We've got Thomas about to cross the line. Where does he go?
Andrew has to improve. Andrew does improve, but only to P9. That's actually very surprising.
Yeah, Thomas did cross the line in P9, but obviously Drew was right behind him and managed to pit him to that 9th place. Also, hello to Geordie. Welcome to the stream. And welcome Scythe to the stream as well.
Yeah, he has just asked, why am I not racing?
I think he's gonna...
I'm not taking part is because I'm unable to without a wheel for this season, but potentially next season, you heard it here first, there might end up being 2 Michaels back on the grid.
Yes, I thought he was gonna misunderstand the word setup and think that you meant actual like car setup. Which wouldn't surprise me being Scythe.
But obviously after that, good position for Mitchell to be in. P1, especially with the dry race. He should, looking at the cars around him, be able to just drive away and comfortably take this race out. But there are some guys out of position on the grid here. Drew down in P9. I would argue that Hasnain up in the top 3 is probably out of position. That's higher than he would have expected. Alex back there as well. Guy back there. This is going to be a very interesting race. Cloudy, so maybe not drive for the whole session.
Scythe has just said that yes, he did think that you meant car setup as to why you weren't racing anymore. Yes. Let's move on.
Well, that is something I struggled with, but not while not here today. I'm sat in the lovely dry commentary booth with Mr. Mays.
It is indeed. We're just waiting for everybody to get back into the session. Which is taking a little bit longer than it usually does. So hopefully we're not running into any issues at the moment. Would certainly be quite unfortunate. Oh, no,
Yeah.
there we go. Countdown
And
is
someone's
on.
pressed start, and there they all go. Obviously, my pick for this race will be Mitchell to win, but the person I would watch for this race will be Andrew from P9. Obviously, the Red Bull has a lot of speed, and he's been in very good form of late.
Yeah, 405 meter dash from the pole position to turn number 1. Who is going to make it down there in the lead of the race? You've got Mitchell on the right, you've got Troy on the left, and away we go in Japan. It's a good start from everybody. Mitchell moving across, takes that lead comfortably, almost going 3 wide with the 2 Force Indias and one of the Ferraris, but Hasnain takes the second position off of his teammate. Not sure if team orders are going to come into play later on in the race or if they're going to fight it out.
Very aggressive down the field by one of the Renaults. I saw him going almost onto the grass on the inside of a Sauber. I think that was Dan passing Andrea. Looks like the P13 on the super soft tyres. Andrea looking like he's on the medium. So a wide variety of tyres at the start of this race. Obviously people approaching the race in different ways.
Yep, the timing screen looks a bit like a pinball machine as one of the Toro Rossos goes a little bit wide, causing a little bit of a bottleneck. It is, of course, Valward in the Toro Rosso. You've got the Renault of Dan as well, and one of the Haas's as they bang wheels through Spoon. Not really a brave thing, or a smart thing, I should say, to do, as Andrea's going to try and pounce on the medium compound tyre. Slipstream fest down into Spoon, into the 130R.
Toro Rosso in front. That's a terrific pass. Can he make it stick? And he does. Oh, good God.
Oh,
what
my camera angle's got a bit funny. Mitchell's leading. They're still side by side coming out of the chicane. Finally, he manages to wrestle that place off.
Great driving by all of them there. Certainly looks like Valward in that Toro Rosso has got a lot of straight line speed. And it looks like Banco Bullet in the hats has got very little.
Oh! He's got very little because he's in the barriers right now. And there's one of the Mercedes of JC also running with some front wing damage. But Luke is going to be extremely lucky because that was a very big hit. And to only lose a little bit of his front wing, he is extremely lucky.
Yeah, the front Mitchell's marching away already. 2.1 seconds is the gap. And the two Force Indias, which managed to hold station actually. Good start from them. Sort of the field itself at the front, what I would class as sensible gaps between the drivers. Top 4 obviously on the super soft tyres with the maximum grip. Matthias, however, coping well in there on the softs, probably just keeping a watching brief. Maybe trying the Sebastian Vettel and going longer and being very fast at the end. Yeah,
pretty good battle there, albeit a little brief between Jerry and Gerard. Gerard finally winning out on that and is away into the distance. Going through the hairpin on that lap. Oh, we've got pandemonium going on coming out of the chicane.
Yeah, Demon and Thomas went side by side in there, and Thomas just escorted him a little bit wider than he needed to be, and that's allowed Drew a chance to get around.
Indeed, Drew on that soft tyre.
You don't want to be doing that too often. He's committed down there.
Remember, these two had a tremendous battle in Monza. Oh, that was close to contact. Somehow they did.
Terrific
great driving.
It's a bit of a train here. You've got to say, both Toro Rosso's doing a really good job so far.
Oh, Hasnain already given himself a penalty already. Didn't even notice that he dropped a third.
Yeah, it's impressive on that Prix. He's very close to his teammate though. Although whether he's close to his teammate is because of the penalty, although that is a nice little queue of traffic going on there. Troy Hasnain.
Yellow's in sector 2.
Yeah. Looks like Valward, commentator's curse, has dropped behind Dan. I refuse to call him his full name.
Yeah, I think the Toro Rosso there just ran a little bit wide in Degner 2. Ran off the road,
mighty
causing
few of cars down the back straight.
Flag. There is.
The DRS is now obviously available, and unfortunately Luke Scott Henry, I think, probably attacking coming out of the pits. He's just gone through the Degners, so that will be the reason. Mitchell's lead up to 5 seconds already as he enters lap 4.
Yeah, Dan
But
is
right
the
now,
cork in a bottle right now. We've got Dan.
As is Troy. Force India should probably be looking here at releasing Hasnane, but how do they do that without also releasing Nexus?
There was a little bit of damage there. Jerry hitting the back of Gerard down into turn 2. Has lost the left front part of his front wing. Unfortunately for him, especially going through the S's.
Good position here for Guy. P6, medium tyres. Obviously not much faith on his tyre wear to start on the mediums. He will have to pit anyway. He's got a decent little train behind him with Thomas, Demon,
Jerry's off the road again.
Out. Probably to do with that front wing down.
Yeah, he ran wide in Degnal 2. Just ran into the gravel. Lost the place to Martin.
Alex is
Ben
down
attacking Thomas.
Yeah, Alex is still on P10. I expected him to be a little bit higher than that, but maybe he's suffering from the being stuck behind all of the cars, especially in Section 2 here. The dirty air, not really horrendous, but when you're stuck behind 5 cars, I presume it's pretty bad. And on the soft tyres, he's not got the opportunity to pit early to get out of that either. Which, personally, if I was in one of these trains, I'd consider, depending on how long the medium tyres can run, pitting, getting out of a train, getting some clear air, and getting track position.
There you go, Dan's just
Essentially, as I say that,
oh,
Dan
good
has
lord.
thought of the same. He's got front wing damage, so will he change his wing? And Jerry's race goes from bad to even worse, with a 5-second stop-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
Great move there by Thomas to take 6th position off of Guy.
Yeah, and Demon took it as well. Demon's ahead of Guy as well, so what will be interesting now is whether Thomas and Demon can catch the train that Matthias, Nexus, Hasnane and Troy.
What a move by Drew! Drew around the outside into Deckner 1 on Alex.
Good move.
He did lose 2 positions.
I didn't catch Alex passing Drew, because Drew was ahead of him anyway, so obviously Alex passed him somewhere. But Drew was then stamped his authority on that little battle and was driven back round him. Drew should now pass Guy. You'd bank your house on a car on softs against the car on mediums. With the DRS, especially as Guy is very shortly probably going to fall out of the DRS zone. The 2 guys in front who are about to go side by side into 130.
Oh, that's aggressive.
And probably discretion better part of Valor there.
Oh, he's going for it anyway.
Is he going to do to... Yeah, he's done to Thomas what Thomas did to him earlier. Pushed him off track.
Pandemonium!
Oh, Guy.
Thomas in the barriers. I think he's managed to get away with it.
As well. The Ferrari of Nexus has passed Hasnane.
I don't even know where to look anymore. We've got 2 Armageddon sections for the first time this season.
I'm going to stay with the battle between 2, 3, 4 and 5 for the time being.
Yeah, I've just noticed Hasnane's lost another position to Nexus.
Yeah, I think that's down to turn 1. It looked like Force India was quite wide in turn 1. Whether that was cause or effect, I don't know. But they're still very close, and it still seems like Troy, for whatever reason, is the cork in the bottle here. The lead is up to 7.3 seconds. If they're not careful, Mitchell could pit and come out probably in 5th place if he keeps this rate of pace up.
Which would be very good for him, because I'll tell you what, if I was him, I would not want to be in this this carnage that we've seen so far.
If I was him, I would be thanking my lucky stars that there is no safety car.
Oh, here comes Gatis. Attacking Hasnane now. who's also looking to attack Nexus down into the chicane.
Big move.
Oh, a little bit of contact there.
And the tried and tested method, just squeeze your opponent off the track. What all this is doing though,
Tore Russell off in the background. I just saw it in the back of the shot. I don't actually know what happened there. He must have just run quite wide and then straight to the scene of the accident.
Yeah. Potentially, looking at his track position there, got out of shape on the exit, tried to correct and shot himself into the outside wall, similar to what the Sauber did in qualifying.
Yeah, who was the Toyota that did that in 2009?
It was Timo Glock.
It was Glock, yeah. And Montoya's done that as well, actually.
2008. One thing I would say is the Demon's gap to Gatis is 2.2 seconds. I remember it was nearly 5 about 1.5 laps ago. So that group's little battle is about to draw Demon, Drew, and Alex in. And the rest of the Armageddon sections have filtered themselves out as people have pitted, but they're about to combine, I fear, into one gigantic Armageddon section.
I think it will go from Armageddon to just a straight apocalypse if that happens. You've got Nexus having a look at the back of Troy. You've got Gatis having a look at the back of Hasnain as well into the chicane. Brief yellow flag in sector 2.
JC off the track in sector 2.
Gatis going for 4th here as Andrea passes Thomas, probably down in the chicane for 10th position. And there you go, Gatis down the inside and up into 4th place.
Force India not looking as strong as their tyres get older. Hasnain's lost quite a lot of track position and time, and Nexus is right behind Troy. So essentially whatever setup those guys are running, not working as well, maybe not as stable the car as the tyres go on. And the next one for Hasnain to worry about is that trio of 3, and looking how close they are, if one gets you, they all get you.
Yeah, well the gap's gone down to 1.4 seconds as that's Troy off the road. Oh no, that's going to have cost him 2nd position.
It's going to have cost him the podium, and we know how much he doesn't like that happening. He's got a lot of work to do.
And now that his tyres are hot, he won't be able to do the blisteringly fast race-winning lap times that he definitely would have been doing had he not had that spin. Probably the exit curb will be taken to the stewards. Yeah, and he's got a penalty just to add to the pain.
Yeah, it's difficult when you heat your tyres up. They take a long time to cool down, although I can't imagine that it was cloud because the track temperature is too hot. But it's sort of a spiral. Once you heat your tyres up once, you have to go depressingly slow to cool them down, or you just keep spinning them and heating them back up again. And he want to get rid of them as soon as he can, but obviously he's confident enough that he can go again. Probably confident enough that he can keep Guy on the medium cars behind him, who is just sort of sat back and watching right now.
Oh, Drew made the move on Alex down into turn 1 and he's gone off.
And he's gone back behind Troy and very, very nearly Guy into the back of effectively his customer car.
Yeah, Guy didn't really fancy that.
Probably wise. Drew's probably got more pace in those cars still. It's not worth costing yourself track position or track time when you're running P9 and on a different race strategy. As you can see, Drew's already captain.
Although doing a 4-wheel drift through a corner of the speed of turns 1 and 2 probably isn't going to do your tyres that much good. So we may see Drew come in sooner than he actually wanted to.
Martin and Thomas having a nice little battle into the second Degner. They were side by side going through Degner 2, which was an interesting decision, but it's not really one of them that's hurt. And I would say,
and off goes Charlie.
I think I see rain falling.
You do indeed. So this is going to be interesting.
These tyre choices are based on where they thought the rain was going to fall. And if you're on the super soft right now, you're probably begging for a fast, hungry shower.
Yeah, we were told
Hopefully.
by somebody in the chat that it was going to be a dry race, but obviously this is not the case, and there is some rain factoring in. Drew up the inside of Troy into turn 1.
Yeah, Alex right behind Demon now, who's right behind Hasname. It looks like more than likely those super soft tyres are going to go off. So the person I would say right now, with the conditions as they are, in the best position is Gatis on the soft tyres. He won't have any concerns about them going off. They won't go off as quickly on a damp track. He's running quite nicely in P3 with rain coming down, which with his controller setup is probably beneficial to him.
Yeah, rain's not coming down that hard though, just riding on board with Drew at the moment as he goes through the hairpin. Rain, not really, not really that heavy.
It's not, and if you can remember China last season, and I think also it was kind of it this season as well, it rained for about 15 laps before it was actually wet enough to go onto the Inters.
Yeah, I do remember China from earlier in the season. It was quite an interesting watch.
I had good fun there. I had a very good time in China. It's very hard to drive in these conditions.
Ooh, Alex down the inside of Ben into the chicane. He sent it.
And will he be escorted off? Yeah.
Keeps it on the road though.
Ben's bailed. So it looks like those super softs are done. I can't imagine he's going to pit for Inters. It's far too early for that, looking at how the track is. There's no water scraping off of the tyres. But I'm on board with him in the pit lane to see what he puts on. He's putting on.
Timing screen says soft.
Putting on a set of soft, so maybe he doesn't think it's going to rain too hard. Because if he thought it was going to rain hard enough to justify the Inters, you'd put a set of super softs on.
Yeah, remember we are only on lap 11 of 27, so we've still got a fairly decent way to go in this race.
He's got also a very nice clear track. Nice clear track in front of him.
The gap between Gatis and Nexus now down to just half a second, so I think you're right on that. I think those super softs are starting to go off and he's starting to make some gains. So he may very well move himself up into P2 shortly, although he's dropped a couple of tenths on this lap.
Gatis' car looks very stable. I'm just on board with him. And not much rear end going on. Front end seems to be turning in very nicely. We should see if he passes Nexus, whether he'll be able to start reducing the gap to Mitchell out in front, who's still around a second a lap faster.
Uh-oh. That's Troy off again.
And that's Troy again. That's almost certainly the podium gone.
Yep.
And he's on those super softs. So have they now reached the end of their life? This is what I was talking about. Once they've heated up once, that grip just goes. And I'd be surprised if he carried on this lap if I was in my pit.
And he does indeed.
He does exactly that.
Into the pits he goes.
After a strong start for Toro Rosso, I think they were running in 7th and 11th. They've got one car out, and Thomas is
and he's gone for intermediates. Sorry to cut across here. He's taken the gamble.
A brave call.
It is very brave.
Very quickly see whether that's worth it.
And I'd say it's very brave because the other drivers seem to have a lot of front end grip, a lot of rear end grip still. So it's nowhere near wet enough. Gatis now just 3 tenths off the second position and closing.
No, it's not worth Inters. Troy is skating around like Bambi on ice. Just been passed by Charlie for P14 and has lost, as near as makes no difference, 7 or 8 seconds in the first part of the first sector, and he's given up. So obviously the tyre change hasn't worked for him. And as I was talking about, it showed me super soft for a second, but Mitchell has also now gone to the soft. So, as I was saying, the person this feeds perfectly in for is Gatis, who now takes the race lead. And Mitchell leaving the pits. Mitchell leaving the pits in between his teammate and Guy. But Mitchell will now be very happy on a nice fresh set of boots. I can't imagine And Hasnain runs wide as well, forcing India to have a shocker of a race.
Yeah, just think, earlier on in qualifying they were on the front, they had a front row lockout. They've now, one of them is retired and one of them is in 7th position. Thomas pits for the intermediate tyre. Still not sure if that's the right decision, but I guess we'll find out.
I can't see any standing order on the track as yet, and as you say, there are guys on track that are still doing decent times on the 7 dry tyres. If you can keep temperature in them, then they'll work in these sort of conditions quite nicely. Mitchell 7.6 off the lead in the same tyres as Guy gets himself a warning for running wide at Spook. And Mitchell is very quickly catching his teammate Andrew, who
off
can't
goes
imagine.
Thomas.
Yeah, it's still too early for him to by the look of it. This is a problem for the guys on the super softs though.
And he's no, he's carrying on. No, he's not. Out of the race goes Thomas. And as Troy's AI car goes out on the super soft.
Yeah, I thought I saw Troy in the pit on the super soft. I was a little bit confused there. And Nexus has also pitted as well.
He pits for the soft tyre though.
Those who started on the softs currently running 1, 2 and 3. I'm amazed that Hasnain hasn't pitted yet.
Yeah, that's surprising.
Over half the race, they must be destroyed.
Especially with all the spinning he's been doing.
Maybe he's thinking that it's just not worthwhile pitting for another set of dry tyres. Although if they weren't confident that it was going to rain hard enough for the race, you'd put another set of super softs. So I guess they're all just waiting for that tyre switch over.
Drew lets his teammates through at the hairpin. Sensible decision. Of course, Red Bull are fighting for the Constructors' Championship.
Somewhere Helmut Marko is preparing a nice Bud Light for the American there, helping out his teammate in his quest for the championship. I would also say that Mitchell's pretty much cut the lead down by 2 seconds. And if he keeps up at that rate, he's right behind Alex, who can't see putting up much of a fight. Now it's a race against the rain now, rather than against each other. But there still looks like plenty of grip, so I wouldn't worry too much. The guys now in the best position, I would say, are Guy and Andrea in P8, and a nice little set of mediums. And Hasnain is trying to get to the pit, and pits. So he's obviously given up now, and is now finally caved in.
Who is that off the road? Andrea spins off, just as you said that he's one of the guy in the pack. Into the pit. Tried to get into the pits and got reset.
Will be disqualified. Will he? It's not gone well for him there.
But
it's not gone well for him. It's a shame because he was doing a good job. But yeah, that's pretty much ruined his race now with no safety car.
Yep, front wing broken. His car's ghosted. So I'm pretty sure he's gonna.
Pitted again on that lap. For some reason, for another set of super softs.
Yeah, remember that is an AI car, that's not him.
Yeah, it's just strange that's what it's done. And also, the 2 cars out of this race right now are the 2 Toro Rossos, so my early race prediction that they'd be decent ones in this race has gone to pot. As Mitchell's just 3.4 for the race lead. It is coming down by 2 seconds a lap.
Yeah, Rate's still not getting heavy.
Andrew's sort of catching as well, and Guy now on those medium tyres is pulling back in. But if Mitchell can gain track position here, and he will because Alex pits, so Alex's soft tyres, and Drew's, so now it's in the pit for the softer tyres.
Yeah, Rain's getting a little heavier now, just riding on board with Mitchell.
That won't make either Andrew or Alex very happy at all. And Mazais ran off at T1. And he's soon to be passed very comfortably, I feel.
Yeah, remember Gatis is fighting for P2, I think, in this race. Most definitely now that he's gone off.
Yeah, if he keeps doing that though, the person I said needed to improve his race performances in qualifying, Guy, is P3 on the mediums and only 7 seconds behind. And this is a pass for the lead, almost certainly.
Oh, I think Gatis tried to let him through. A little bit of miscommunication.
Gatis tried to let him through, and Mitchell decided that it was worth a dive bomb, and they almost met in the middle.
Luckily, that didn't happen. Drew on the super soft, so.
Yeah, Alex as well. So they've both gone out on the softest possible tyre just to be very fast, I think.
Oh dear, Drew, please don't do that. You're gonna give me a heart attack if you do that.
Roy Madder, obviously not a fan of speed cameras, but fairly certain that's his third 5-second stop and go for speeding in the pit lane today.
Yep, and he has also just retired. As Drew takes 8th position from Martin.
Yeah, Martin's doing actually a very good job here. We've not said much about him. We've not seen much of him. But P9, running in the points, doing a very solid job.
Gatis pits as well from 2nd. Guy up to 2nd place now.
Yeah, but will Gatis get out in front of Nexus and in front of Ball? I don't think he will. I don't think he'll even be ahead of Alex.
Well, here comes Alex with the DRS past the pit lane, and no, he does not. So running off the road.
A lot of time.
Yeah,
running
remember.
Off the road is lost a massive amount of time.
Yeah, remember they would have had.
He also doesn't
undercut
know what grip. Yeah, he doesn't know what grip he's got either. The cars around him at least know vaguely what kind of grip to expect. He goes out full bore, right out in the wall. Is in front of him, Alex hounding Demon. I can't imagine this is going to be too much of a fight.
Yeah, and you've also got Nexus on the back of Gerard. Gerard doing a very good job as well up there in 3rd. Yet to stop, of course.
Yet to stop. Does look like the rain's coming down a little bit harder though. There is spray off the tyres and also raindrops on the camera.
JC jumps into the pits and retires from the session, so that's another one out. I hope this isn't the sign of things to come.
It's always a little bit despairing when it all goes against you in terms of the tyres you want to keep on, you can't, and you're about to lose 25 seconds in the pit lane for a lap's worth of running. I can understand why it's frustrating for them. Alex thinking about a lunge on Demon. It looks certainly like we're almost, because on my screen at least, the barriers for the pit exit are in the middle of the road. The entrance even, which is either horrible as a driver or just a graphical glitch.
Yeah, Guy and Gerard pit.
Yeah, both for the super soft tyres.
Yeah, Martin is the only one yet to stop, by the way. Up into 7th.
And Guy has just driven into the back of Martin and lost part of his front wing, so that's not going to improve his happiness at all at needing to just pit and then losing part of his front wing. Probably going to cost him here with the amount of corners 1.5 seconds a lap. But he is still sat behind Martin, who has got those tyres. If he's not pitted, he's got those tyres a long way.
Oh, Alex having a look down the inside of the hairpin. Sorry to cut across you again, but Alex being a bit of a noob. And here comes Gatis capitalising on it, and he takes 4th position from Alex.
Yeah, if these
Although
two crash,
Alex
Drew's
isn't
back
done
there.
yet.
I think we're very, very close to the switchover now. Wouldn't be surprised to start seeing people pit.
Yeah, I think I'm inclined to agree with you on that one. Yellow's in sector 1.
Charlie by the look of it.
Yep, Charlie off the road.
Drew has caught these two massively. Drew's got a lot of pace in that Red Bull. Speaking of a lot of pace in that Red Bull, Mitchell's 20 seconds up the road from Nexus. It seems wetter around the back part of the track than it does at the front part. The sector 1 doesn't seem too wet, and I presume, I don't know, for exceeding track limits, that's a 5-second penalty for hazmat. And I can only presume that Martin's pitting for the intermediates, and he is. This will be the big test then.
It will indeed. We'll keep an eye on him, although the battle for third place. Drivers aren't exactly flying off the road, and they still look like they're carrying a lot of corner speed.
Warm enough
look at
for now.
Gatis attacking down the inside.
Went full Bottas there.
Yeah, that he did.
Can't imagine Demon's going to be very happy with that. As I think that was Hasnain just having a little trip off to the grass. And by the look of watching Martin, that is not the right tyre to be on.
Yeah, I don't actually think it's going to be wet enough for the intermediates at any
Yeah, I
stage
think
of
that
this race.
we've got a China situation going on here where it's just not coming down hard enough. It'll be very interesting if it comes down hard enough 2 or 3 laps to the end.
So I just had to hold my breath for a minute there. Alex and Demon went side by side through 130R, made it out alive, but Drew is right up behind him now with the DRS as well.
Yeah, and he's got big straight line speed. They've both got DRS, and Drew is
huge
just
straight line speed.
Inside. Oh no!
Oh, they've made contact.
No. Luckily for Drew, he's not lost much of his front wing, if any. But I've got to ask, I don't know why Demon turned into the corner there.
Probably didn't think that Drew was going to stick there. I mean, I was looking at the trackside camera, so I didn't see just how far inside he was.
I was on board with Drew. He was side pod as Alex Mercedes makes a mistake, and Alex drives past him.
Oh, come on, Gatis. I would just like to point out that Mitchell's having a Sean drive at the minute, and 22.3 seconds with 7 laps of this race remaining.
I'd say he's now basically a pit stop ahead, which in these conditions is wonderful, because it effectively allows you a gamble, or to maybe stay out of that longer. Big shout out to Nexus as well. With all the battling going on around him, and all the cars going here, off and everywhere, he's really been the only one that's stayed on the track, and he's running P2. It's just a case of whether those soft tyres will hang on.
Yeah, you're going to keep an eye on Drew. Drew, the closest man to an attack. So we ride on board with him as we go through the chicane. Great corner speed, great exit speed, and it looks like he's going to just drive straight past.
He'll do him now. He'll do him now. We saw obviously the DRS versus DRS speed. And I'd be amazed if he turns in this time. And he doesn't. Obviously, Drew there can either come in good or bad.
I thought Dean was going to have another go, but no. Decides better of it.
It's a shame for Guy. His lack of front wing has effectively put him into the clutches of his teammate, who's on medium tyres. Shows how much that lack of front wing is actually costing him.
Yeah, Martin struggling on those inters, but sticking with it.
He was 119 off last time I saw. He's now 126, so they are still comfortably slower as Luke dives down the inside at 130R. Even when the car in front's on the worst set of tyres, not a move you want to risk lightly.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think the rain's actually starting to. Actually, it's not starting to ease off. It's just remaining constant.
Just stayed the same
on my screen.
Yes, and line as we go on board with Troy's Ghost car, which, rather ironically, being the first person to have gone onto the inters, is about to overtake Martin, who's currently on the inters.
I think that's just to unlap itself, though.
And behind them is Mitchell, and he needs to be careful here, because if the car in front is on inters and he just about makes his way around, you don't want to get stuck behind the car sliding all over the place with no control.
Let's keep an eye on the gap between Drew and Gatis, currently 2 seconds. Gatis looks like
settled down slightly.
Yeah, Gatis looks like he's losing a bit of time to
Not only has Martin got wrong tyres on, he's got no front wing, and he's building himself a sandcastle on the exit of Degner 1. So, experiment Intus has not worked for poor old Martin. He's still in the race, still running P13, and you know, there's no time like track time, so he'll probably be quite happy.
Yeah, it's nice to see that he hasn't just immediately jumped off of a bridge and just sort of said, I'm not racing in this race anymore. As Gatis ran wide, I believe, at Degner 2. That's allowed Drew and Ben to pass him. And Spray is coming off the back of the cars now.
Gatis pitted not long ago for those super soft. You'd expect them to be in decent nick. But have been passed by a car on the softs and passed by a guy who was behind you when he pitted. Probably not going to make Gatis very happy. As Alex is closing in. Alex is closing in on both Nexus and Mitchell, but I can't imagine Mitchell is going at full speed.
I've expected Gatis to have a look down the inside there into the chicane, but didn't do it, as Martin finally says enough is enough.
Caribbean crashed his car in the pits again.
This is definitely costing him that podium position.
I'm looking forward to seeing Mother Nature in the stewarding thread later on.
Yeah.
But very disappointing for Force India, as you say. Second and third on the grid. The best I've seen of a pair of Force Indias for a long time. Now running P14 and P9. And to be honest with you, probably in a little bit of danger of not being P9 for too much longer if Ball, and your prediction of mine, as he leaves the lobby.
Yeah, I would just like to point out as well that this is yet another race that Troy has not passed you in the championship.
This will not make him any happy, as both Renaults now nose to tail. Guy has to let Dan through because Hasnane's there, and Ball will be there soon as well. I can't imagine Guy won't get points here, but he's at danger of costing his team a large amount.
Yeah, we got Alex and Nexus down there in the chicane, battling for P2. Alex getting a little bit loose on the exit, cost himself a little bit of time. He does have the DRS to give himself back.
Actually looks like on board with Nexus, the rain is lighter than I remember it being.
Yeah, which is weird because the off-board cameras, sorry, show that it's a little heavier than it was. Don't really know what to trust in this game anymore.
No, it's a very strange one, but it's seeming similar to the China races a couple of seasons ago, just not that wet enough to justify moving to the Inter. Some people gambled, and I can see why they did, especially those lower down the order. But unfortunately for them, not paying off. And as I say that, Dan has passed Guy. So, presumably, a little bit of team orders there down the pit straight. Dan now drives away into the sunset, and Guy has to contend with Hasnane and very shortly Gerard.
Yeah, at least one of the Toro Rossos will be getting points, unless he sticks it in the wall at some point. Which
Toro Rosso are 80 and 90. Can't see them getting any points.
Let's see where we've also got Ben closing up, back up to the back of Drew. Got Alex still attacking Nexus for second. He will have DRS down the pit straight again this lap.
Andrea goes off at turn 1, and I just cut on board with him as he was sliding out of control, so that's the yellow flag down at turn 1. Hopefully there's no one coming. And there's a Ferrari and Mercedes, so that's the second and third place cars, and he's done the strangest 7-point turn I've ever seen.
Finally back on the racetrack.
No
lighting up those rear tyres, yeah.
Wet grass, and
out of the race he goes.
He's obviously not pro-life because he has aborted this race.
I do love the fact that Troy's AI car is actually gaining places right now.
Yeah, so it's currently 13th, and the battles that are starting to group together as Hasnane still behind Guy. who hasn't lost as much time to Dan as I thought he would do.
2.5 laps remain, or 2.25 at this point.
So your two battles really right now for the key positions are Andrew and Ben. Andrew and Demon, sorry, P4, P5.
Hasname's got Guy.
And Nexus and Alex, P2, P3. The problem in this situation is if the guy in front has track position and is faster in a straight line, you really have no chance.
Yeah, let's see if Hasname can now try and close up to Dan. 2.8 seconds is the gap now. Oh, well, apparently F1 2017 is going into the steward's room for not having marker boards placed out for Troy on his game.
He is the gift that keeps on giving in this championship.
I know, for someone that's such a fantastic, amazing driver on a grid of people that couldn't drive, and yet he doesn't know where to brake. I find that quite funny. As Andrea gives himself a penalty.
Pit lane here causing a lot of problems. I mean, Jerry basically cost himself a race worth of seconds with his cutting the pit lane, and now we get another one. Mazeus has been very disappointed today. Didn't expect to see him down in P6, and quite frankly off the pace. He's 6 seconds behind Demon, who is still on the back of Drew, and Guy gets himself a warning which obviously Gerard won't know about, because the game will only tell you about a car behind you having penalties, not the car in front. But so no doubt Gerard will want that position for bragging rights and also those two little points that he'll get.
Yeah, we've just started the final lap of the race. Mitchell in convincing style, 28 seconds in front of Nexus, who still has Alex trying his hardest to get that P2, but of course has fallen back a little bit. We've got Drew there in
it does look
fourth.
like Drew's got the measure. Drew looks like he's got the measure of Demon, and can't see, barring an incident, Alex getting Nexus either. It's a really good drive by Nexus. Really impressive.
Oh, Guy ran wide down at the chicane, and that's allowed Gerard through.
I spoke about Drew.
Tagged the end of the pit wall.
1.5 second, 1.5 tenths, should I say? Has Drew made a mistake somewhere? Because Demon is right on him.
Yep, never say never. Oh, nobody cares what lap
And he's
times you were doing in
pushing as well. He's pushing. Will he lunge? No, I think if it was a podium he might have thrown it down the inside, but he looks like he's got more grip. As he fishtails out of the hairpin. This is the battle you need to see. This guy, as you say, dropped behind Hasname and Ball, but got himself a penalty anyway.
I'm going to keep the cameras on this battle, but
wins.
Yep, Mitchell wins the Japanese Grand Prix. Kind of had to do it in the situation that he's in at the minute.
Drew's faster in a straight line. So
yeah,
it would explain why Demon can catch him around the middle part of the lap, but the problem I spoke about in qualifying is when you have track position here and you're good in a straight line, it's very, very difficult unless you make a mistake to overtake you.
Nexus takes second, then Alex takes third, Drew takes fourth, Ben takes fifth, Gatis going to cross the line in sixth, which he's probably going to be a little disappointed in, given he was a lot higher up than that, and with a slightly better strategy. Dan is going to take seventh position, Hasname's going to take eighth, which take ninth rather, because of course he had penalties. Gerard taking the eighth position, Guy takes 10th, and Andrea is doing cartwheels somewhere down the back of the circuit, thinking he's in a drift car.
Luke had to be P11 obviously, with the last remaining driver to cross the line. And somehow, after the race is finished...
I didn't actually see Andrea quit the session, so I think he's actually still driving the car.
I was about to ask if Andrea has managed to get a penalty whilst not being in the session, that is the first I've ever seen that happen. But in that respect then, Luke wasn't the last man to cross the line. And Andrea, looking like he's... Well, looking at the rear of that car, he has royally destroyed those rear tyres. And he's almost driven into the pack of a Mercedes and a Red Bull.
Remember, these are cars that have finished the race. Oh, he tags the back!
He's trying to drive into the Mercedes. Which, by the way,
having a bit of fun.
Finished. Big move!
Big move on the car that's finished the race.
Rubbing is racing. Great move, Andrea.
Great move on the car that's already finished. And across the line! To finish 12th.
But at least he finished. And you can't hate someone for doing that.
Quite an enjoyable race, that one.
Yeah, the different conditions certainly mixed it up. It gave a lot of different tyre choices. The three teams really you'd expect to see on the podium: Ferrari, Red Bull and Mercedes.
So there you go, that's your Japanese Grand Prix. Mitchell your winner, Nexus in second, Alex in third. You've got who was that? That was Drew in fourth, Ben in fifth, Gatis in sixth, Dan in seventh, Gerard in eighth, Hasnain in ninth, and Guy in 10th, rounding out your top 10. Mikey, your driver of the day?
It's a tough one because of the nature of the race. I said before the race that people like Alex and Drew would be out of position. But for the sheer surprise of it, I'm going to give it to Nexus. Because I know his pace probably isn't podium ability, especially when you've got a race that people that are experiencing, like Alex, like Drew, but he kept himself out of trouble, got himself track position, and kept that second place. And I think he did a really, really good job. What about yourself?
I actually think I'll agree with you on that one. Very, very, very solid drive in not the easiest of conditions. I gotta say, well, as we've mentioned throughout this broadcast, I'm very disappointed in the Force Indias. One retiring from the Grand Prix with talent issues, and the other one just scraping a ninth place finish. Not where they would have expected themselves to finish after their second and third in qualifying, but maybe they went a slightly different direction on the setup.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it. If you look at how the people drove forward in that race in the dry conditions, people like Drew and people like Alex, who started, I think, 9th and 11th, obviously had a different approach to the race, and the different tyre strategies with the weather obviously added a lot to it as well. But at the end, the cream always rises to the top, and congratulations to Mitchell for keeping his championship battle alive for now with a dominating win.
Yes, I do believe, if my mathematics is right, that the championship gap is now 73 points with, what did I say earlier, 125 left?
125, yes. So after this, I believe there are, what, 4 races left? You've got Mexico, USA...
No, I tell a lie,
Brazil.
it's 100. 100 points up for grabs. I was counting this race as well. So 100 points up for grabs, 73 is your gap. Make sure you guys keep watching. Next week, we will be at the Grand Prix of America, at the Circuit of the Americas. Obviously at the same time, on the same day. I'm not sure which Michael will be joining me at that point. Of course, it
Maybe
would be a
both of
pleasure
us.
either one. Yes, that would be a good one. But yeah, would be a good show. Obviously, if you've enjoyed that race and want to find out a bit more about the league, do head over to Race Department on the forums and check us out. If you want to watch this race back, of course, head over to my YouTube channel, The Phenom F1, and you can watch this back in glorious high definition and 60 FPS like you saw just now. And yeah, all I really have to say is thank you very much for watching. Thank you to all the participants that have been in the chat, including Sean, who has been on holiday this past week. No, 6 people did not just finish the race. It's just that only 6 of us are left in the lobby. But yes, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for participating in the chat, and we hope to see you for the next round. So from myself and Mikey, it's been a pleasure. See you next week.
See you next week.